The UN Security Council has raised concerns over the lingering political and institutional crisis in Guinea-Bissau. This comes after political stakeholders could not reach a lasting and consensual solution to the current gridlock. The Council is asking the Bissau-Guinean stakeholders to refrain from actions that could escalate tensions in the country.
Conakry agreement has not been fulfilled, and therefore it's our call to the leadership and to all the political parties in Guinea-Bissau to take on their responsibilities, to come to an agreement and get the country into a normal situation of functioning. The Guinea-Bissau's haven't had a budget for the last year and a half. Every so many months there's a new change of Prime Minister who is unable to get his program of work through the Congress, and we fall again into the same cycle.
Betty Debia is back with us to continue the conversation on the no confidence vote on President Jacob Zuma. Well, Betty, you mentioned earlier that there's a division in the ANC, and in the past we've seen the MPs vote in favor of Zuma. Do you think that voting in secret this time around will make any difference?
Making any difference in terms of getting the president and his entire government to leave office, I don't know. I put that question to the current finance minister, who is a member of parliament, and I said, probably after this vote, you may not even be the minister, and if this succeeds. And he says there is no chance in hell that this vote will succeed. But, you know, you never know. And because some people have already spoken openly against the president, saying that he's actually bad for the ANC at this point, especially with election coming up in 2019. They believe, those who are taking this case to court, the UDN, they believe, and the other opposition parties, they believe that these people who are speaking against the president openly may actually vote for him to leave office if they're allowed to vote in secret, so they won't be intimidated or victimized by the party at the end of the vote. That's the essence of them taking this to court. But the debate is still on in the court. The court is still in session.
Well, Betty, have you been speaking to people on the streets? Do you have any idea of what their opinion is concerning this vote?
We've spoken to a number of people. I think the focus is not really the vote, because we've been there, we've done that, and Zuma always comes out, free. But they believe that many people think, okay, enough is enough now. The president can actually leave and save the ANC. There are many people we spoke to who said, look, if there's no ANC to vote.
Oh, it seems to be having a bad day with the phone there, but of course we'll hope to reconnect with Betty as the program goes on. Moving on now, pupils from the Kenyatta Golf Course Academy have blocked a major road with their desk in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, to protest against the demolition of their school. Teachers of the school fear that the demolition could cost them their jobs. The demolition of public school property is not uncommon in Kenya. 2 years ago, police fired tear gas to disperse protesting school children in the capital after the school's playground was reportedly claimed by a nearby hotel. And in Zambia, a magistrate court in the country's capital, Lusaka, has acquitted opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema of insulting a police officer. He faces a separate charge of treason, which will be heard later this month. The presiding judge, Greenwell Malumani, found that the police officers, who were the only witnesses in the case, were inconsistent in their testimonies and proved unreliable. He singled out the arresting officer for lying under oath and later apologized for misleading the court. And 6 peacekeepers have been killed after militia fighters from Central African Republic's Christian minority attacked a UN base for the second consecutive time. Although 24 people have been treated at a nearby hospital, access to the Central Bangassou to recover the wounded and the dead have been hampered by fighting.
Hundreds of civilians are seeking refuge inside a mosque in the Central African Republic's border town of Bangassou amidst ongoing attacks by Christian militias that have killed up to 30 civilians. The attacks throughout the weekend on the town of Bangassou on the Congolese border have involved hundreds of fighters with heavy weaponry and appear to be aimed at Muslims. According to the spokesman for the United Nations mission's Herve Verhoso, the United Nations base has also been targeted, prompting the deployment of extra troops to the remote town on Sunday in anticipation of further attacks. They had succeeded in partially securing the town by dusk.
The situation is extremely deplorable, and we're doing everything to rapidly retake control of Bangassou.
Local Red Cross President Pastor Antoine Mbao-Bogo says gunfire continued to ring out from the town, blocking attempts by his organization and others to reach the wounded and recover the dead. Onanga Anyanga says 6 peacekeepers were killed in the attack and 11 wounded. It was the second attack involving peacekeepers in a week in CAR. President Faustin Touadera promises to visit Bangassou in the coming days and condemns the attack. In recent months, roaming militias spurred by ethnic and religious rivalries have stepped up violence despite pledges to take part in a government-led disarmament program. Aid workers say militias seem to be exploiting security holes after Ugandan and French soldiers left in the past few months when their missions ended.
The Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Gideon Bachir, says his country is ready to share the secrets of Israel's developmental strides with Nigeria. Mr. Bachir spoke at a meeting in Abuja with the Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Christian Pilgrims Commission, Mr. Tor Uja. Mr. Uja solicits Israel's support for Nigeria in capacity building in science and technology, as well as agriculture. And coming up after the break, Sierra Leonean government rejects a $7.8 million bid for one of the world's largest diamonds. Do join us again.